you and I are looking at this bike for the first time. So the person who donated this left us a little note, so that's kind of nice. Still legible. Please work on this one. No new cables needed. Add kickstand. Remove U-lock holder. Lube adjust clean. So sounds pretty straightforward. Sounds like it's going to be quick and easy. I hope that's right. Also, slight frame damage. Got a kickstand for it. And I'm sure whoever wrote this note had the best intentions. So I'm just gonna feel that fork. Fork feels pretty good. Looks like they have a suspension seat post too, which looks also in good shape. Chain protector, aka dork-disc. Seems like it may need to be replaced or removed. I don't know, it seems like there's one that's different for every single. There we go. Hey, replace? We'll see. Let's get this guy up on the stand. Maybe we should move this seat post too. Gee, that was hard to extend. This is just for the stand. Also kind of weird that they had it facing the wrong direction. Typically these go toward the back. Yeah. So let's put this thing through its paces. Boy. See that piece of split protector is going to fly off there. It's to be shifting pretty well on the front. I'm going to put it on the middle gear back here. And now let's try the front derailleur to see how that one cooperates. Nice. So far so good. Stops nicely. Oh, got some rubbing here, see that? So add brake adjustment to that. Yeah, okay, so we got brake adjustment. Looks like it's got all the reflectors. This is junk. I'm gonna take that off as recommended. Yeah, we'll lube this up a little bit, do a little clean. Like it's got plenty of pad on the back there. Yeah, we got something to work with here. Noticing that this adjuster here, aka barrel adjuster, this is a little lock ring, that should not be cranked all the way. So I'm gonna actually start by doing that and just crank it almost all the way down. So, and then just back it off just a little bit. I'm not gonna engage this lock ring just yet. So now this thing should spin more freely. Still bad, wow. But you can see now how much play there is. This side is just really out of adjustment. I don't know why that is. There's a couple of tricks that we can do to try to get that back. So you might be thinking, oh, it's already fixed. No, because then as soon as I engage it then locks up again. Not that simple. There is, however, right here, this little adjustment screw. So I'm gonna start with that and see. I'm also gonna, even before that, I'm gonna just throw a little lube in here on both sides. So this is Tri-Flow. Doesn't say Tri-Flow anymore because we use this off in the shop. The labels just come off, and we cut down the straw. So if you buy this in the store, you'll have a straw that's about 2 or 3 times longer than that. It still works fine. So I'm gonna just, I don't know if it's supposed to be tweaked like that. So that may be the problem, which it may be a lot more complicated than I'm hoping it is. But for now, I'm just gonna, this bike has got some weathering on it. For now, I'm just gonna get some Tri-Flow down in here and just see what we can do. What I'm gonna do also is take this out of the cable hanger here, or the bridge, and just work that lubrication in there. Maybe I'll get lucky and won't even have to do an adjustment. Kind of doubt that. At minimum, back up with the barrel adjuster. C2, I mentioned this before, these noodles, one of the first things to rust when a bike's left outside. So cables are often stainless steel. Looks like this one is. The boot here looks a little trashy, but serviceable. Well, let's just see if that did anything to help. So slightly better, not great. So now I'm gonna start with this screw here. See if that does anything. Usually I'm thinking you have to turn it in. Yeah, my first assumption was correct. And there is one on this side too. So this one I'm gonna try out. Looks like this one was already cranked all the way in, so I suspect that the owner of this was aware that this was an ongoing problem. So this one here, I'm gonna back it off, which should take tension off the spring, and see if I can get this to even up a little better. So I'm kind of going beyond my comfort zone. I don't know if you can see this, but you can see there's a little Loctite on the thread there, and it's actually now beyond that. So here's another trick. So I'm gonna actually take the spring out. It just tucks right in behind here, and I'm gonna bend it a little bit and see if that gives it a little more balance to the whole system. Hey, look at that. So now I can tighten this in a little bit. Not bad, not bad. You see though, it's still like really a long pull. Look up here on the lever. See how it's just touching that? That's not what we want. So rather than crank it on this barrel adjuster, what I'm gonna do is come back down here and get this bolt free, usually a 5mm. So there's a 5, and yeah, it's rare that it's not a 5. I've come across them before, but that's definitely the exception on these kind of brakes. These are called inline brakes or V brakes, according to Shimano. And you'll see these all over the place, this particular kind of brake. It's good, it's reliable, it's easy to work on. These long arms make them more efficient in terms of how much energy you need to activate them compared to the old cantilever brakes, so this was definitely a step up. So I've kind of overdone it now, so it feels like it's a little too tight. So I'm gonna back this off just a little bit, back it out just a tad. And the user of this bike they'll be the one to actually, a little tiny more, they'll be the one to make those micro adjustments up at the barrel shift, at the barrel adjuster. Let's see what that does. So that feels pretty good. So fully engaged, it's right kind of parallel, right? The grip feels good. And let's check the action now. Like decent. Looks like this side is actually hitting a little sooner. I'm being picky, but what the heck? So let's get them hitting like just exactly the same. Some synchronicity there. I'm gonna back this up just a tad. Should take some pressure off this side. Now it's like, oh no, that's really bad. This is a lot of work on them. I'm glad I'm doing this now. That's interesting. But I feel like it's much better. I've got this cranked all the way in. I could bend the spring out again, but I don't want to keep bending it. It's better not to. So let me see what I can do here. If I just back this up just a tad. Yeah, that's pretty good. Yes. And I like how it's spinning even after. So that says we've got no rubbing at all. I'm gonna take this little extra bit and just tuck it behind here. It's just an aesthetic thing, and then won't flap around. Unless it may be too short to do that, in which case I'm gonna have to just be satisfied. Let's see if that'll do. Yeah, there we go. So this is kind of exciting. We don't know the model of this beautiful Diamondback. We just don't know what it is. It's a something wood deluxe. So we're gonna remove this specialized lock hanger and see what the truth of the matter is here. It's a wildwood. Oh, look at that. I think right there, just that alone has really increased the value. I don't know if you heard that, but I lost the little nut that came off of that, but I'll grab it in a minute. Okay, so hey, that's something. Let's get to this rear wheel. Before I start lubing, I want to get and cleaning, I want to get that disc on. I can also clean better when the wheel's off, so I will. This was not a great bike. The Sarah is like, I think it's like third or fourth from the bottom. So at the time this was made, it was right before Dior. So like upper, lower level. So usually they the mountain group, the Dior was like considered, and still is, like that's where it starts to get into like the serious level of cycling. So this is a great workhorse. The Sarah is fine. I think this is an 8 and then a 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 8 speed. So 8 times 3. Check my math here. I believe that is a 24 speed. Let's pull this wheel. Release these brakes again. Same thing, this noodle up here is really crunchy. And if I were gonna resell it, I would replace that noodle, but I'm not. So there we go. I don't know if you could see, but can you make out the cobwebs on here? So this bike has been sitting. I'm gonna get up in here, I'm gonna clean, I'm gonna lube, I'm gonna remove the cobwebs. The new owner is gonna be so thrilled. Dork-disc, a little crunchy, little bit. Here's the newer one. No guarantee this is gonna fit, but I'm gonna stay optimistic. Removing the quick release, checking for springs. Notice the springs face inside on the skewer. I'm gonna set this aside for the moment. This is a lock ring cassette tool. Some of them have the skewer, which just makes it a little more stable when I put it in there. These are pretty universal for these kind of cassettes. I've talked about this before, and I did learn the hard way on this. So it is a standard thread on this thing. So that means I've got to turn it, in this case, counterclockwise, right? But as you see, there's no way for me to do that without my handy dandy chain whip. So this guy needs to prevent it from turning this way. So I'm about 50-50 with success. I often put it on the wrong way. So if that's you, be patient with yourself, and I'll try to be patient with myself when I do it again wrong. At this point, I'm just leaning on this adjustable wrench. By the way, I just really like this. This is Park Tool, P-A-W, Park Adjustable Wrench, and you can see it's the 12, it's the meatier one, and it's perfect for this. So this is dirty, so I think I may give it a little clean. Honestly, it doesn't, not bothering that much, and I have to also keep an eye on my time because this bike needs to be picked up today. So there's the cassette. I've seen worse, right? This isn't too bad. Might hit a little bit with my power wash. This is the free hub body. These splines are very specific, but boy, that feels really nice and smooth. It's quiet too, so that's in pretty good shape. Okay, so the moment of truth. Does this dork disc fit on here? So these little spikes here, they should just grab on. Ooh, that's nice. Okay, so that's one. So the second thing to do is we're gonna see if this interferes with the action of the spinning of the cassette. Obviously that it has to be clean without any interference. Sometimes what happens is it'll bind a little bit and then it's a lost cause. So before I do that, I'm gonna clean up my cassette just a bit. So I mentioned earlier, at least I think I did, I just picked up a bunch more of this stuff. So everybody in the shop seems to really like this, including me. Just easy to work with, easy to control. And again, I'm not gonna do a lot with this because it's just not that bad. I don't know if you can see inside here, but like often there's like a bunch of caked dirt and grime in there and oil. And this just isn't that bad. So do a little bit, but not a lot, just not necessary. So these pieces are are separate. So if you look, this is all one piece. It's riveted through here. And those other pieces just kind of slip over it. They'll have to be in the right orientation or it won't go back together. So just kind of pay attention. I'll talk you through that as we go through when we stick it back together. And I could really get in here and scrub, but it's just, I've got a deadline. I'm already taking longer than I want because of the brakes and this. You know, you don't technically need the spoke protector, AKA dork-disc. I don't need to clean this. So I'm not gonna go overboard despite my OCD. I'm gonna just do a little bit. Just gotta say though, it's satisfying when something like this cleans up. Okay, I'm gonna call this acceptable. Yeah, maybe I can get that. Let me try this. Just a little bit of a buildup on this one ring here. This is probably the one that got used the most. Pretty typical. So I'll take care of this. That's the only one with any real buildup on it. My high-end stuff, I wouldn't do this. I would use like a brass brush or tool. But this stuff here is super tough. And even if it does scratch, no one's gonna notice. And if they do notice, they probably won't care. Can you see there's a little arrow right here? So that arrow, this. Seems like this is a little bit of rust here. Yeah. Again, if I were really picky, I'd replace this, but it's just not that kind of a project. And I think it'll be just fine for the new user. They're getting themselves a free bike. It'll be tuned, it'll be reliable. Shimano Hyperglide. Malaysia. Just hit that with a little bit of a Dawn Power Wash. And just not gonna really get in there, but I am gonna put just a little bit of grease on these splines. This is the good stuff. Honestly, probably a little bit too good for this project, but that's what I have at hand. I'm just putting just a tidbit of grease on here. Just don't need much. We'll see that there's one that's bigger than all the rest. There it is right there. This one is the wider one, and that corresponds to the wider one on this part of the cassette. And as I noted before, this one has a handy arrow that's right above the wider one. And this washer looks like it's not size specific, so it doesn't matter how that's oriented as long as it's over the rivets. So I'm assuming that's how it's supposed to go. So hopefully this just slides on, doesn't give me any grief. Oop, it's gonna give me a little bit of grief. There it goes. And then same thing here with this cog. There's the arrow, you can barely make it out. And the wider notch here goes right over the spline. And then you've got this last one. Same thing here, there's the wider one. Don't see an arrow, but it's pretty obvious. How do you know if it's wrong? Well, it's not gonna go. And then this lock ring. When you pedal, it'll tighten it, but I still like to tighten it. So, my lock ring tool, you can already hear those splines engaging. And then I'm back here with my adjustable wrench. Not like really leaning on it, just, you know, giving a little torque, not a ton. And so I like that this spoke protector is a little smaller than the one that was on there, but you can hear that there's no binding. You can see there's no binding, and it'll still do the job. If the chain hops off, it'll protect it from going behind here and getting wrapped up. So if you're not careful and your derailleur isn't adjusted properly, it can hop off the back and then get caught in the spokes, and it can do a lot of damage, sometimes catastrophic damage. In not only to the spokes, but could actually hurt the rider. So I have to say that I'm pretty careful with my bikes, and I don't like the look of a spoke protector. Also, that's why they call it the dork-disc, right? It's just like, I don't know, something kind of a person with an attitude says. So sometimes I have to admit, I'm that guy. So this bike is going to get some long-deserved attention. It's not getting the kind of attention I would give it if I were selling it. And so I'd really get in here and get it just super clean. But I'm just not going to get that deep. Just hit the back of here a little bit. A little bit of rust on here, so I am gonna, as long as it's out, I'm gonna shift this into the smallest gear, that's this way. And now I can just push on this, and that's gonna pop this out. And it's a good time to lube it. Just looking at the back of it, I don't know, can you see that from your angle? Check this out. Like, that still looks pretty bad. Can't let that go. I don't think anybody's ever gonna see this, but I just can't turn away. That's much better. It really does find its way in there. And I'm just working it back and forth. You can see, feels really good actually. And then there's one more pivot point down in there. Right. There's the spring. There's a couple of springs in here, but that one keeps the chain taut that way. All right. Putting the cable back in. And let's get the wheel back in. This has to come around here. There she goes. And then once I get it here, then you still need to make sure that the quick release is going way up into the dropouts. And the smart thing to do, if you're not positive, is to actually put it on the ground before you do any more adjustments. So, doesn't look too bad. And on this side, what I've done is I've take this quick release and just made it parallel with the chainstay here, chainstay, quick release lever, and everything's kind of up underneath here, so it's not gonna get caught on anything. And that looks pretty good. So I'm gonna just make sure that the brake lever cable is set back up in there. So engaging the bridge there, like so. And then just gonna come up here and work that a little bit. Make sure it feels good. Feels okay. Put this back on the front chain ring. There we go. Oh my gosh, it's not working. Why isn't it working? This is great. Why isn't it working? I'm like trying to shift. It's broken. So no, I just forgot to put the cable back in. It's funny how these little things can make all the difference. So push and dropping back in. And now look, it's magically gonna work. How about that? I'm liking that. Okay. Lube on the chain. You know, if you're being really careful, you're lubing the chain before you're trying out the shifting. And a little bit of lube to the jockey wheels too, because what the heck, we're in that kind of a mood. Let's get a little cleaner on that before we lube. I didn't see any problems with this front derailleur, so I'm not gonna stress about it too much. Just gonna get a little bit of clean, a little bit of lube. It's like the finish is coming off of here a little bit. So that's not dirt, that is actually finish that has been somehow removed. And this bit here just looks like some goo. Yeah, not too bad. Notice how these things, was that like somebody spilled their milkshake on there at some point? And then now I can see a lot better where I want to drop my lube. Same thing, I'm just looking for pivot points. Sometimes it helps. If I'm not sure, I'll actually work it back and forth a little bit. Say, okay, where is it actually pivoting around? And that'll help me. This one's pretty simple, really. It doesn't have a lot of pivot points. That's kind of nice. These tires are a little dirtier than I'd like. But I'm not sweating it. They look like they're in really good shape in terms of tread depth. Yeah, nice. So as I'm working this front lever here, I am feeling a little bit of binding right up in here. So again, this is the bridge or the cradle. So it just pops off. And then this housing is going to be accessible. And just the way that this particular bike is designed, you can see that there's just one long piece, which is the reason, I think a very good reason why this thing's a little laggy. So I'm just gonna take my tri-flow and just kind of pull this back and just see if I can thread it in there a little bit. Just work that through. So just kind of dropping it down there. And just now when I was doing that, I could just feel it start to release. So I think it's going to be much, much better. And as long as I'm here, I'll also put some down in the noodle as well. I don't really think it needs it. A lot of times they have a little housing in there that's plastic. So it stays pretty clean and frictionless. But let's just see what kind of an effect that had. Just that. Oh yeah, better. I'm gonna go even further as long as I'm doing this though. I'm gonna pop this off one more time and get the front of the bike too. So the way I'm gonna do this is, see how there's a little notch in here? That's pretty smart. What that's gonna allow me to do is line it up like that. And I've already released the back end of it. So if you look here, you can see the notch actually goes all the way through. So if I line all these up, so there, right? So now that's out. So I'm gonna just drop a little bit of lube up in here. This feels really like it doesn't need it, but again, as long as I'm here, just put a little bit of drop over here on this lever. And I think the more important thing is to get the lube down in here. There she goes. Which moved a tad, but not much. And I'm just gonna twist this. And again, I'm not totally locking this down, so I'm backing it off just a little bit. And then the lock ring, and then it'll stay. There she goes. Yeah, that action feels much better now. That's starting to feel like a really nice bike. Again, these boots are serviceable, not great, acceptable. It's another one of these similar story of a bike that's been left out. As long as I'm here, just a little bit of lube down in here. Probably more than it needs. Pretty good. Oh yeah. We're just about there. I'm just gonna do a little bit of minor stuff. A lot of times when I'm in this mode, which is right, get this bike ready quickly for the new person. It's hard for me to not really go deep. That's usually my mindset when I'm working on a bike, right? Get everything just right. Get it as good as I can possibly get it. So I've got to remind myself that that's not the object here. The object is to get this bike serviceable, reliable, and quickly to the new owner. So next thing, I'm gonna get this on the floor. I'm gonna give a little test ride and should be good to go. Inside, it's in the retro carpet. I like to have forward, front railer. I can also really hear everything. Brakes. Brakes feel okay. A little bit of noise, but not enough. It's concerning. Ooh. That's concerning. Very often, we can get away with just a little emery cloth. So this is 80. Anywhere like 80 to 120 is all good. And I'm just gonna quickly go over the rim with it. My bike's falling over because I haven't put my kickstand on yet. Whose fault is that? I blame society. I'm also not liking this valve where it is. So I'm gonna deflate and then reflate, get that valve straight. It's probably fine, but it's one of those things where if your valve isn't quite right, it could put extra pressure on that side of it and then shorten the life of the inner tube. It's one of those things. Other side. It's amazing how often this little trick here just works. I'm going to verify it and do another test stop on this. Let's give her a go. Damn. Not giving up. Sounds better. I'm calling that good. All right. So the last thing, kickstand. This one is an imposter. So it looks like a green field, but so it's got this little foot on here, which usually green fields don't have. Green fields will have a little bit of measuring on here. And it'll say Greenfield, it'll say made in USA. So this doesn't have any kind of a label on it, nothing except Japan, which we can assume is not the label, but the country of manufacture. Feels like it's a pretty serviceable stand. So I just took a little bit of lube and I just dropped it in there already. And then this is gonna come right here. And as I do this, I just wanna make sure that not interfering with the action of that front derailleur. Should be fine, especially since it's clearly designed for a kickstand. Wonder why the kickstand's no longer on it. Is there like a problem that they like do that for weight savings? Are they racing this bike? Hard to say. So I should probably do this in the stand because I'm really wrestling with it. Let's see if I can make it work. Okay, I'm gonna save myself some grief. So I just got done checking this out. And like I said, up in here, you can see there's brackets specifically for the kickstand, right? So it's in there nice and solid. It's been lubed. It's a little bit of a noise, but not too bad, right? And then I just kind of spun the wheel and I think there's a little bit of extra play in here that could be problematic. I can use the same upper bracket as the universal, pretty much. And here we have a proper Greenfield stand. There we are. Greenfield, and guess what? That's right. One does have those classic markings in case it does need to be cut down. I don't think it will need to be cut down though. I think it's just the right one because I've got high hopes. Hey, look at that. Stands up all by itself. I declare this bike officially ready for its new owner.